You're watching Medfield TV.
My name is Mike Paige. I work at the Medfield After School program at the Memorial School. And on the side, I also like to make wood-burned ornaments. I got into making ornaments because when I was in first grade, my church, there was a guy named Jim Sebring that was a wood carver and looked exactly like Santa Claus, and he just had a sense of magic to him. And he convinced my dad somehow that 6 years old was plenty old enough to start wood carving. So my dad let me start taking the wood carving classes on Monday nights. And a few years back, I had been mostly drawing portraits, usually couples portraits for people for birthdays, anniversary gifts, stuff like that. And I decided I wanted to start getting into more of the stuff that Jim Sebring used to make. He typically made Christmas ornaments, so I completely shifted gears and started making Christmas ornaments, and I wanted it to be made out of wood the way he used to do it. So the best way for me to do it was actually, rather than carving it, I started doing wood burning because I felt like that was more in my comfort zone, in my wheelhouse. But then in the last year, I've started getting back into carving and making some more Jim Sebring style ornaments, so it's kind of cool. My process for making the ornaments, I start by sanding down the wood as smooth as I can get it. I take slices of the wood, and I like to sand them so that they feel smooth enough, like they almost feel like they're porcelain at that point, or ceramic. I just feel like it produces a better end result when it's that, that gives it an extra tactile thing. And then once it's sanded down, I will draw the picture out onto the wood. And then once it's drawn on in pencil, I will start burning it in. Once it's fully burned in, that's the hard part that takes the longest. Once that is finished, I will drill a hole at the top, and then the easy part, tying in the twine. Examples of my ornaments. Dog ornaments are the big one this year. A lot of people have been asking for custom portraits of their pets. This is Logan, a local Medfield dog, and another local Medfield dog. This is Bowser. One of the fun things about doing these ornaments is I get to learn a lot of local Medfield dogs. Usually I remember the names of them like 2 years later, which is kind of cool. It's better than I am with most people. So the process of these, I drew the dog on first after it was sanded down, then turned on the wood burning tool here. Right now the heat is set at 7, so that would be burning relatively dark. Apply the pen like this, apply as much pressure as needed, and work as quickly or slowly as is needed to get the gradation shading that I'm looking for. I also make town signs like entering Medfield, entering Walpole, Millis, whatever town. And the process for these is the same. The nice thing with the Medfield signs or any town sign is most of it I'm just filling in dark, so there's not a whole lot of shading until I get to the metal part of the sign. Some of the carved ones are spiral ornaments that either look like Christmas trees or icicles, depending on whether they're pointing up or down. Here's an example of a Jim Sebring carving. He gave me this in 1991, still have it, I still love it. It's a cowboy boot that I've never worn cowboy boots, but I've always absolutely loved this because he made it and chose to give it to me, so that was really cool. This is a Christmas tree and icicle ornament. These are also things that Jim and his son Jody carve, and it's something that once I finally started getting into carving again, I decided I would try my hand at it. The Christmas trees are a lot easier than the icicles. The icicles start out as a cone shape, and then you're slowly coming in, and with a glove on, I would never do it without the glove, you're gradually removing a V shape. And you just keep carving and carving and carving until eventually it hollows out, and then you have this nice icicle spiral. This is an 8-pointed Moravian star carved from a block like this, and this is a 12-pointed Moravian star carved from the same type of block. This one's a little bit larger. To carve these, you have to start out by dividing it into equal segments, and then you basically keep drawing more and more triangles on it and carving away those triangles is the best way I can describe it in a short amount of time. And then these are a few little wood spirit ornaments that I made. This guy is he's got like a Viking beard going, and this one's just an old wood spirit. These are both carved from almond tree, those two. And then the wood-burned ones, I also have been doing some military insignias, and pretty much whatever people ask me for, that's that's what I'm making. This is one of the military insignias that I did recently. This is the 549th Night Fighter Squadron from World War II that my grandfather served in. A Medfield Warriors logo. This is another one these are relatively quick for me to make compared to the dogs because there's not much shading and it's mostly straight lines. This is the state of Massachusetts with a heart over Medfield, and it says 02052. Somebody requested one of these a couple years ago, and it sparked a lot of interest, so I've just kept making them. And the Dwight Derby house. This is an example of why I love to make custom ornaments. You can go get ornaments of Boston at local stores. However, the ornaments that I've seen that are of Boston sites, if you look on them, they're made in China, and there's nothing worse to me than getting an ornament for your tree that's of a local thing, but it's not made locally. So I really enjoy getting to make very specific things that you can't just go buy, but I can help you out with it. I've also done ornaments of people's actual house, not like the Dwight Derby house or a local landmark, but where it is the person's actual home. So that's obviously a unique ornament that you can't get most places. Prices for ornaments range anywhere from like 10 to 15 bucks for the really basic ones, up to the most expensive one I've done was $200 for an ornament, but that was very detailed. Usually the town signs are $36. Dog portraits are typically 100, 125 range. Very rarely do they ever go above that, but anywhere from 10 to 15 bucks up to 125 is usually the window. The thing that inspires me the most is year after year I've had people at the holiday stroll or at Medfield Day, or just people that I see on a regular basis tell me that my ornaments are on their Christmas tree every year and that they think of me when they pull them out. And that's, like, to me, that's the coolest thing ever, because our Christmas tree growing up in my house always had Jim Sebring's ornaments on it, and he was that guy to me. So the idea that now somebody else is saying that to me, that's like the biggest compliment that I could get. If I was going to give anybody advice on wood burning, I would say the wood burning unit that I have, you can adjust the heat, and a lot of wood burners tend to rely too much on adjusting the heat on the box, but a lot of it is also how much pressure you're applying on the wood and your speed. So my advice would be, don't just rely on what the box can control. Figure out how much pressure you want to be applying, how quickly you want to be moving it. Usually once I turn my wood burning tool on, it stays at the same temperature, and it's just how much pressure I apply, how quickly I'm moving my hand. Further advice for anybody that wants to get into making ornaments, it helps to have or do wood burning, it really helps to have a steady hand. I sell the ornaments at Medfield Day, the holiday stroll. I can be found on Instagram at Mike Paige Studios. Paige is spelled P-A-I-G-E. Also on Etsy at Mike Paige Studios. On Facebook, you can look up Mike Paige or Mike Paige Studios. A lot of people have started contacting me through Facebook to get them. The Friends in Medfield page on Facebook is awesome because on Fridays I can do my little business post, and almost every time I get 2 or 3 dog ornament orders out of it, so Facebook's been a huge plus for me. And also people around town, sometimes people just catch me and say, hey, can you do this ornament for me? That works too.
You're watching Medfield TV.